Good eve Good evening, everyone. This is Bea Benkoa. I'm the European Transformation Leader, and I really would like to welcome you on our very, very special webinar with our very special guest, Gary Malkin. Welcome, Gary.
Nice to be here again, Bea.
Thank you, and thank you very much for being with us on this webinar. And the topic of this webinar is visioning through the eyes of gratitude. And for those of you who were with us on the first webinar, you know that we had a really amazing 21-day journey of gratitude, where Gary was very generous and made a few of his recordings and special music available to us to really tune into the 2015 and really tune from the eyes of gratitude. So Gary, thank you very much. Those of you who don't know Gary yet and you are just joining us first time now, I would like to welcome you and just shortly introduce Gary to you. Gary Malkin is an award-winning composer and professional speaker who inspires the world to embrace music as a catalyst for healing, presence, and more meaningful life. I know, Gary, that your work redefines the role of the art in all aspects of society, including healthcare, education, and corporate America. Gary is a multi-Emmy Award winner, and you spent the last 3 decades composing music that enhances the human experience. And this is something I'm just very, very grateful and got something very present for me when I was on our 21-day journey of gratitude. And I get a feedback from all our community for your contribution to the world. So I would love to use this opportunity also to interview you more and for you to share about your music, how you're composing it, and your awakening moment. I know that through your global production company, Wisdom of the World, you share internationally acclaimed projects that showcase music as a catalyst for mindfulness, health, wellness, and emotional intelligence. And I'm very curious about the word catalyst, music and a catalyst, because I think in the current society we do tend to use music maybe as something on the side, something that we enjoy to maybe feel better. But how can music be a catalyst for mindfulness, health, wellness, transformation? Is it a specific design?
So I love that question, Bea, because it brings to mind this study a research study that happened in the late 90s by a man named Jonathan Haidt, H-A-I-G-T. He's actually, if you Google him, he's been on a lot of TED Talks from the University of Virginia. And one of the things he did, it was one of those studies that we who have been doing this work for a long time laugh, because why do you need a scientific study to prove these things? Common sense and emotional intelligence and spiritual awareness should be enough qualitative information. But when the world gets quantitative scientific proof of certain things, it becomes news, right? And so it's useful to use those tools to prove all of the hyper scientific, or maybe just say the ones who look through the lens of linear, rational, logical thought, right?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think the science gives people who are very rational and logical access.
Right, exactly.
To the medical and transformation things, and that's the gift of science. I think in the current times it's coming together, and it's bringing the scientific evidence what people who were intuitive or psychics or more spiritual, told us for thousands of years. And I think that's the magical dance that's not happening between science and spirituality. That people who are so rational and so logical can have access.
Well, it's like you said, it's the laws. This is the age of integration, like we talked about last time. So it's a very exciting time, because for many years, decades, hundreds of years, since who was it? Descartes, who said, "I think, therefore I am," and the whole scientific revolution that moved away from the heart and the spirit as a valid way to exchange communication and human endeavor. But this study, what it showed was that when we were touched, moved, and inspired, to tears, to chills, to those kinds of physiological functions, that the body was metabolically and physiologically running at its optimal state. In other words, the capillaries opened up, the heart came into coherence, the EKG brain waves were running properly. It was like you were actually running at your optimal state when you were touched, moved, and inspired. And I love that quote, because I mean that study, because what you can say as a result of that is that you can add years to your life when you're touched, moved, and inspired, when you're living with the axiom, what makes my heart sing. And so it brings us to this thing, the word catalyst. And I use the word catalyst, I love the word catalyst, because what it does is, like the fairy tales in Sleeping Beauty, it wakes us up from the slumber of the trance that Western civilized culture is engaged in, that believes that here up is enough, that believes that the linear rational is the human experience. And we all know that in neuro-linguistic programming says that 7% of our human communication is pertain to words, and the rest is emotional tonality and body language and things we can't even measure yet, like such as presence. Like right now, look at this gorgeous face I'm looking at on the screen right now. I'm looking at your beautiful face, Bea, and such presence you carry with you, right? Well, how do you translate that scientifically into rational, logical thought? I'm moved just looking at your beautiful face, right? Those are the things that the arts can awaken from the slumber that modern society has pigeonholed us into as human doings rather than human beings.
Yeah. And Gary, every time I hear you sharing about music and multimedia, media experiences, I do wonder, because I know that you were very successful in the traditional world and you won Semi Awards, and then you got your awakening moment, how many of us are getting, and more people are getting. And now you're composing also music. So you did compose music before, you're composing music now. Is there a difference? Like, I know there is a difference, but what is the difference?
That's great. You're just asking fantastic questions. It's very engaging. So, I don't know this from a classical scholarly point of view, but the Buddhists I know hold intention as being extremely important and sacred. And there's so much that human beings get wrong, because there's so much, we're perfectly imperfect, right? We're flawed essentially and existentially. So the Buddhists, as far as I understand it, hold intention as a very important anchor for the human experience, for which we need to ground ourselves into an intention, right? So I love what Desmond Tutu said about a knife. He said, religions are like a knife. You can use it to cut bread, or you can use it to kill one another, right? Well, that's the truth with almost everything, including music, right? So when so I don't want to comment on music that can kill you. I really want to say music that can agitate you, music that can create disturbance, and music can create incoherence and a sense of violence, if you will. I would say a lot of video games until recently have been very inciting a certain kind of violent attitude. And so it's not all music fits all things. It's about the intention, right? So when I was composing music, I did over 1,000 commercials since 1980 for all the major corporations in America. And I did a television show called Unsolved Mysteries for 15 years that had a lot of scary recreation scenes. It was about trying to find who killed this person and who was missing and the kidnapped person here. And I had to create scary music all the time.
Oh, right? I remember, because sometimes in the films, I'm really present. The music comes first, I noticed, and then the image comes, but you're already stressed because you can hear it. And I hear from the vibrations of the music in the films.
Yeah, well, I want to go, if you remember, I want to talk about John Seeley Brown and something that he said about the need for emotional tonality in the context of kind of convening. But let me just stay with this right now. So I would create music for selling products, right? Gallo wine, God, I did so many. The department stores, like Mazda, Infiniti, Acura, all the car distributors. And the purpose was to create an emotional state that conveyed the point of the commercial in order for people to feel like, wow, I want to get that product, right? Or in the TV show, it was, wow, I'm really scared. So what you're really talking about is again, intention is an expression of a vibrational frequency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is reduced to the common denominator of the universe, from the tiniest, as I said 21 days ago, from the tiniest quark, the tiniest proton, photons, all the microbes, to the largest galaxy. Everything is vibration, right? And even intention, even though you can't see it, is intention. So when I was composing music before, it was nothing bad about it, but I was doing it to make a living. My intention was to create the music that would alchemize with the images and the words to create the experience that people would buy things or get frightened, or that was my intention. And for me, even further, it was to create music that would make me money so that I could survive and, and be successful in the world, right? And when my epiphany happened, when I had an accident in 1998 that was compounded a month later with the loss of my marriage. My wife left the marriage. And everything, I was 1 minute, I was on top of the world as a leader of the community. And literally 2 months later, I was sitting in a hospital in traction with my wife having left for another man. And everything was shattered. The only good thing, I didn't lose my daughter. And when life reminds you how fragile it is, it might not seem like a gift, but it is the most profound. The crack is always the entry point into the gift, right? And so I was kind of riding on top of the world, and I kind of loved it and knew it and flaunted it in a certain way, and I was leveled. And it gave me, over these last 15 years since that accident, a deep understanding that we can't empathize for the suffering of others if we ourselves don't experience it.
Mm-hmm.
And so my intention organically grew, almost like a seed, from one that was completely self-centered, focused on me, into feeling enormous pain and suffering and separation from the loss of my marriage, and my body was wounded for a while, into think about all the suffering in the world, right? And my intention naturally converted into, how can I be a source of love, compassion, empathy, service, the greater good? How can my music embody intention? How can it even be an example of a new movement for arts as a way for healing and transformation that understands that intention is the genesis of a new way of using art and music as a reference point, as an example for everything we bring into the world? Because you don't have to be an artist to be creative. So I am a stand for a new movement for arts and artists all over the world in every discipline, using this power of intention to look at every phase of life, every transition of life, and see what can their art do to actually awaken us from the slumber of a hyper-rational world. And that's me, right? But every single human being on the planet has creativity in them, whether they're an artist or not. And so when you talk about that, this is a universal message that has to do with, how can I attune my vibrational frequency to be an intention of benefit and value to others, to myself, to the world? And that's why we ask people to listen for 21 days to this gratitude piece, because there's something about gratitude, without having a reason, quote unquote, for gratitude, that vibrationally tunes you to a recognition that everything is a gift. Even when you're flat on the floor wondering if you'll survive, you've been given a gift of the recognition of how fragile life is, and what an opportunity to wake up to the profound grace of life itself being a gift. I mean, that's what happened to me. And now I'm standing for that, and now there's scientific studies by the Templeton Foundation proving that people who are oriented through gratitude are happier, more fulfilled, more successful, more in flow, more in ease, more in grace, more attracted. More people are more attracted to them. They don't have to look for a mate because somebody says, "Wow, what are you smoking? What, I want to have some of that," right? So it's a long answer, but the catalyst, our lives should be about looking for embodying, being a catalyst ourselves for awakening compassion and empathy in the world. That's what my art and my music intends to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I can vouch for that because I do remember through your music I met you much earlier than actually we met physically. And I think it was in 2009 in Pachamama
Oh,
Symposium
right. That's
in
right. I forgot
London
that.
when
Yeah.
Lynn Twist and Marsha Martin and Roger Hamilton came to do the symposium in London. And so they took us through the 1 hour symposium and to create
The
a program.
4 hour
4 hour. Well, it felt like 2 hours, but it was very short. And I do remember looking at the videos and the conversations, and I remember thinking to myself, that music is so powerful. I wonder who composed that because to me it was so
Did you really feel that
transformational.
way? You
No, it
really felt that?
really, I was like,
Yeah.
who did this music? And because I knew it was a transformation conversation,
Right.
I knew they were taking us through distinctions in a very short space of time. But when they played the video, I just felt something happening in my body, like the words and the images and the music. It was like a triangle dance. It felt,
Mm.
and I knew there was something alchemical happening. You know how the voice was coming with the sound and the image, and I felt it was really like enhancing or catalyzing.
Yeah, I like, God, Dan, our relationship is so compatible and resonant because the things you notice are not the things that everyone notices. And this brings me up to that thing I wanted you to remind me about, John Seeley Brown. So there are two things about this. First of all, if there are any filmmakers listening or any people that are really interested in communicating new paradigm thought to the
Yes,
world in some
we
way.
do have those in our community a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, this is as old as the Catholic Church when they started to bring multisensory, incense and gorgeous images and art around and music. What you're talking about in the early Catholic Church when they tried to create theater, essentially,
Hmm.
was that they understood on some intuitive and basic level that when the human being is engaged in and confronted and infused with a multisensory experience, something happens to the cognitive part of us that grounds and assimilates it in a way that is less forgettable,
Hmm.
more impactful, and emotionally stimulating, right? So this is as old as probably even the Greek theater, right?
Hmm.
However, and even Nazi Germany, when they used propaganda, they understood how to create commercials and propaganda radio and all that in a way that would incite incredible passion and commitment and people willing to lay down their lives for a certain ideology, right? So when you take this down to more benign examples, um, John Seeley Brown is a phenomenal corporate executive. He's on the board of I think USC's business school, and he and I met once when I was the facilitator, the MC of a systems thinking conference with Peter Senge and Otto Scharmer and all that. And I was the host for this conference up in Seattle, which was amazing. I can't believe they asked me to do that because I was feeling like, oh my God, I'm quite a crowd. But he was really interested in what he does for his students in graduate school in business is that he asks people to take a film that they love and change the music somehow. And he had some, because I guess maybe he had a relationship with the film school at USC, because sometimes it's not that easy to
Hmm.
extract
Yes.
film with just spoken word. And he took the music out and he asked people to put their own music in so that they could have a visceral understanding of what function and what role emotional tonality plays in our human interactions, right? And the big, great step in humanity that hasn't happened yet is a deep understanding of this in our corporate, medical, academic, finance cultures, right? People still believe that we're human doings and we're head only, and we look at entertainment as sort of the garnish to life, the doily to the plate of the main course. But people don't understand that we have the opportunity to be all to embrace and integrate all of our humanity before we have these important conversations about the future of our world, the state of our corporation, the proper decisions to make around how we heal people. How can they be made if our hearts and our souls and our bodies are asleep, are not
Mhm.
engaged, right? And
Yeah.
what better tool to do that than to design arts-infused tools that awaken and catalyze our capacity to remember that this is not superfluous. This is not a side dish. This is the main point, to be fully present and here in our full humanity. And that's why I do believe that the next big burgeoning movement for the healthcare integrative world, the integrative health world in general, but also is the arts and wellness modality. It's the arts. We have just scratched the surface of how we can actually strategize the role of artists, musicians, all all kinds of arts as a reawakener of our humanity. That's why the book I want to write is that I've been threatening to write for years is The Artist as Shaman. Reclaiming the original role that the shaman played in indigenous society, which was to re-infuse us with our humanity, our fullness, our heart, our soul, our body. So long answer. I can talk on and on, but I really want to hear more about the people and how it affected them. And if there's any feedback, it'd be lovely to hear about that.
Yes, I do have few feedback. So I just wanted to recap to everyone who is watching. What we did is when we had a webinar, I think it was on the 6th of January, 21 days ago, we made 4 of your recordings available. The first one was the Good Day, which is also part of the Gratitude Moving Art video. Then it was Courage to Dream, remember? The third one was Letting Yourself Be Loved.
Right, Courage to Dream was affirming your vision, infusing your body with your vision for 2015, right?
Yeah. And so maybe it would be great if you recapped it. So we gave them the Good Day.
No, you're reminding me. Good Day, the Courage to Dream. And what was the third one? I forgot.
Letting Yourself Be Loved.
Yeah, again, that's a catalyst for awakening your sense of impermanence and your recognition that we won't live forever. As another big building block in building gratitude for no reason. Yeah.
And you said something very powerful. You said last webinar, until you really face your mortality, you cannot really fully be present and in gratitude.
Right.
And
then the purpose of letting yourself be loved is an exercise in, as I said earlier, in giving yourself what they call an anticipatory grief experience as a catalyst for remembering that we're going to not live forever. And you can't look at your loved ones or your world in the same way when you remember, when you wake up to the reality that you will die, and we could die at any second. Any second, right? So that changes the story. And I think I said that Steve Jobs, one of the greatest things he said was that there's no greater teacher in being as effective in following your purpose and your mission than to remember every day that you could die at any point. And I think it was really beautiful that he, being such a leader and an icon in the corporate world, affirmed something that was so echoed in all the spiritual traditions. So I love that he said that.
That's very good. So I wanted to give you some of the feedback. First, I wanted to share myself because I love the gratitude, and I think there was something magical about combining the 4 together and listening to them daily. So what I did is I listened to the gratitude and the Courage to Dream in the mornings, and Letting Yourself Laugh, and the Deepak Chopra we also gave them about the observer.
Developing the witness within.
The witness within. Inside, I did notice that it worked for me better in the evening or later on.
Nice.
So it was like different energies. And when I was listening to the Good Day without the image, remember, I normally always watched it as a video. I recognized that it allowed me to actually envision my year instead of looking at the images that were there, that I had this space that the images started showing up, and it was almost you see, I never considered myself a creative person. I always thought, as a limited belief, probably, I'm very visionary, but not creative.
Oh my God.
So it's awakening, this desire for art and painting, and I love playing piano. And I haven't done for years, but what it really almost strongly woke up for me, which is something I wanted to share with you and maybe get a feedback if it was for someone else, is almost like wake up the parts of me that were suppressed, or neglected to the point that I could really feel the sadness, you know, like I'm really sad this is not present in my life. And that was, for example, for music, you know, how I love playing music. And for me, I got present to how grateful I was always when I could play music. And for me, it was a meditation. So when I play music, I always go to the meditative state. But what listening to the gratitude video, the audio did this time, it's actually first time I felt also with the courage to dream, like I want to compose, you know, I want to play because I can hear the music, so maybe I can start putting it together to compose what I feel.
Well, this is one of the reasons why.
Never had this before.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. This is one of the reasons why my dream is to find a team of people who would like to fund this idea of bringing the elements of images, moving and still, music that was designed for spacious spoken word, spoken messages, as well as the ability to create your own spoken message, and to create it in an online experience where you can create your own amalgam of spoken word, music, and images, right? And so you become a creator even with the proper elements, and that's my dream, is so that everyone can create their own wisdom film, right? And their own, and that would be such a beautiful way to express creativity for the people that can't create the images or the music, but have the desire to create something beautiful. And so anyone out there that wants to help contribute to our nonprofit, actually the $5 million that we need for that. The first $10 will be received now. Operators are standing by. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, and you know what I got is like, I love my home country. I live in the UK and I'm Slovakian. So I'm now really committed to awaken and contribute to the awakening of Slovakia and also Czech Republic and mobilize the leaders. And when I was listening to the gratitude, I just felt so present and grateful for the country that gave me my birth and brought me up and gave me the space to be a global leader. You know, it was like this deep urging of giving back and belonging, but at the same time being free. So having the courage to have a global vision and be a stand for human greatness, but also be connected. And inside that, what started opening up is similar what you said. It's like, wow, I really wonder what a film that could show images of my country with the awakening music, you know, healing people, and the words that were in resonance could do to Slovakian people. And it was similar. So it was
all right, so everybody who's listening to this, I want you all to take a stand for Bea to create her first film. And the way you can start, Bea, is that you start getting iconic images of Slovakia, the people, the images, the buildings, the leaders, and put together a slideshow, 5 minutes long, and pick your music, maybe Slovakian actually, and create a slideshow of images and music that are intensely Slovakian, and give yourself the experience of offering that as a gift to your fellow Slovakians and to inspire a sense of gratitude, right? And you can do that, right? And what's so beautiful about it is that when you do that, it defines what Brother David Steindl-Rast talks about what gratefulness is all about, because I love the way he describes this, is that you live your life with such a sense of appreciation and also open-heartedness, that your heart is like a cup and it fills over and over and over, so it overflows to the brim, right, and beyond. And then you're filled with what he calls this great fullness that can't do anything but express itself in gratefulness. I love the way he talks about great fullness becomes gratefulness, right? And so it sounds like you want to create something like that. So I want to encourage you to do that in the next 21 days.
Yeah, I was even thinking, you know, posting on Facebook saying, hello everyone, do you have, you know, nice images of Slovakia posted?
Right.
And
exactly, yeah. Iconic moments of Slovakia. And then think about, then of course it's Slovakia, then it's Europe, then it's the planet, then it's the universe, and all of those things, we need them. Our family, right?
Yeah. So that was my experience. I wanted to share with you from gratitude. It made a huge impact. And I also noticed that when I listened to it, it always calmed me down. So when I had circumstances that were really like stressful, when I just listened to the good day, was something that just kind of integrated me and calmed me down to the point that I sometimes can just imagine the music. I don't have to listen to it, and I feel already calm.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well,
So
I
that's
love
my,
you're just saying all the greatest things because there was something I wanted to say also, which was about referencing the feminine power, right?
yeah,
That this is the movement where the divine feminine, this is the time in our history in the world where the divine feminine is coming up and not only wanting to express itself, but to be wanting to be fully embodied in every aspect of our society, our culture, our world. One of the reasons I love the GIFEW is I know it's about extraordinary women, but I personally think that it's really about a global institute for bringing in the extraordinary feminine presence into every aspect of our lives, men and women, right? I know you're
yeah,
focused on women leaders, but we men will not survive if we don't embrace and honor and celebrate in the uniquely and powerfully important feminine powers that are not gender feminine, they're energetic feminine,
yeah,
right? And so and what happens when you stop and slow down, like what you just said, that's one of the basic gifts of the feminine energy is the sense of receptivity, of spaciousness, and of re-embracing our being rather than our doing. And so every moment that I remember that, in fact, I always, let's just take a moment, all of us,
yes.
because here we're blabbing away, and I think that it's important to just take even a minute, all of us, to just, no matter where you are, no matter when you are, in a meeting, in a moment with your children, your family, your friends, there's always a good opportunity to stop. And so let's just stop for a minute and take a few breaths. And instead of waiting for the next thing that we say, let's all of us just take 3 breaths, long breaths, and just for a minute, just stop and allow the experience for all of us to let the dust settle. And if we had better sound capacities to play music, we'd use that as a bridge because often it's hard for many of us to have just silence. So what I want you to do is let's just imagine there's music because the truth is the music of the spheres is happening around us at all time. It's constant music going on around us at a certain vibrational frequency. We just can't hear it, right?
Yes.
That's how I believe that, right? So let's just take 3 breaths, and even if it's just 30 seconds, just let's honor the moment and the power of being present in the silence and in the stopping.
Hmm.
So the reason what I've come to love this idea of 3 long breaths with extra long exhales. It's almost like I love the Lord of the Rings. It's almost like an incantation into the center of presence. There's something about deep, long breaths, 3 of them, where you exhale the longest, really, really long, and empty yourself, right? And then that opens us to the most creative vibrational frequency, which is open space to let what wants to come to us, right? And what could be more akin to the divine feminine energy than to be open to what wants to happen, right? And that's the purpose of the music that I've been creating is to bridge people's sometimes unconscious and very profound fear of the existential aloneness that comes from being silent. And so the music that I design is to help create a gauze of transition, of love, of compassion, of empathy, compassion, that basically says, all is well. It's okay. The silence might be frightening because it's so shockingly different from the world, but it's okay. Just take a breath and slow down. That's what I've designed a lot of my music for. And and of course I've done it because I needed it the most. So
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
thank you
No,
for
it's
letting
great.
me do that.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. And you just reminded me, I wanted to share a feedback we got from Sonia Yani from Finland. She's Slovakian living, I think, in Norwegian country, Scandinavian countries. And she said, I have beautiful experiences every day with Gary Malkin's music.
Mm.
It is somehow slowing me down, and I feel it is easier to shine when I have the music in my earphones.
Hmm.
Thank you for that, Gary.
Thank you. Thank you. That's awesome. Wow, from Finland. How cool.
Or Sweden, can't remember, but I
And
know
I'm all
she's
the way
in.
I'm all the way in California here, so it's exciting to hear.
Yes, and now talking about healing and the intention for wellness that you also do your music, like graceful passages and other project. And I know you have big plans and news for the 2015 for yourself as well. I have a question from a friend of ours, and she's also part of our community. Just wanted to share her picture. She's here. Her name is Barbara, and she has a question about autism. So she loved listening to your music, and she very much liked it, and it made a huge difference to her life. Here is her picture with her son. She's very beautiful. She's the managing director of Mary Kay in
I
Czech
st
Republic.
I
Can
don't
you
see
see
it
it?
on the big screen, by the way. I only see
Can
it on
you
the
see
bottom.
it now? Hang on a second. Can you see it now?
No, it's not on the big screen. I see it
Okay.
at the bottom in a little
You
postage
can
stamp.
see it at the bottom. Let me just change because I want to make sure you can see her.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah,
Can you see it now?
no.
Hang on a second. Now it should show.
Yeah, if you can press the full page function. There,
Yeah,
oh no. Yeah, that's on Facebook. Okay.
yeah, yeah. That's her
Ni-
picture on a
Nice.
Facebook. So I know that her favorite part of the four parts of music we gave her was the courage to dream. She even had different images, and it gave her a lot of energy and a lot of courage to dream. So that's what she
What a
shared with me about that.
what a beautiful family. Look at that gorgeous all their smiles. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah. So she does have she did have music about questions about autism.
Mm.
She has a website. She's a real stand for the families to have harmony with autistic child, and she comes from a view that when children come are autistic, they are gifts and bring transformation to their parents. So that's how she's been working. But she, at the same time, is very present how much impact it has on the child and the behavior and the family. And it's not always easy also for the parents to be
Oh
full
my
of
God.
energy.
Oh my God, of
So
course.
she's bringing this new transformation approach to the whole Czech Republic, and she's an
Wow.
amazing visionary, leader. And her questions are about using music similar that you are creating for also for healing, maybe also using with autistic children because they're very sensitive to music. But
Mm.
she did notice when she played your music to her son, he liked it.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, well,
you can maybe talk about music and healing and your experience, and if you from all your creations can give her recommendations,
well, you know,
that would be great.
as someone that has never trained as a music therapist, and I have great respect for the field, I really feel like I'm just at the beginning of a new adventure of looking at, really looking at the studies and the experiences out there that are using music for autism, for dementia, for Alzheimer's, for
Hmm.
ADD, for all the different conditions that are out there. And um, I, I'm about to, as you alluded to, embark on might want to put your picture back up if you
Yeah.
want to.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm about to embark on an adventure of exploring many of the other applications that you that they're it's endless, right? There's enormous amount of research going on right now that uses music for all these different purposes. I myself do not have any expertise specifically in autism. Um, The area that I'm about to embark on is very much concerned with the the symptoms that occur with aging and long-term care, and Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, things like that. And although Parkinson's can happen at any time, so so I'm about to embark on exploring, researching, and curating different musical approaches, because I am particularly interested in the societal intervention of bringing music that slows us down, because I see the epidemic of hyper multitasking, as I talked about, awareness fragmentation disorder,
Yes.
our fragmented attention. I think that John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus, that he has a new book coming out that I think talks about the new epidemic of attention deficit disorder right now that is largely symptomatic because of the way we're living our lives. And I think it's going to get worse. The media we ingest, the amount of media that has mixed intentions to, hammer at us, to treat us as consumers rather than citizens. We're like this massive experiment, and we're the guinea pigs, and we're only going to find out like 30 years from now what actually happens to people who are surrounded by EFTs and cellular, wireless cellular fields and all the things that. Remember when they came out with nuclear energy and they had soldiers walking through atomic crowds in the atomic testing of the 50s? Nobody even thought, and then all these people ended up having serious forms of cancer 30 years later,
Yes.
right? Well, I don't mean to be dire, but we're very much like that experiment. We have no idea. And I'm not talking about now all the potentially dangerous issues of having your cell phone by your ear, because there is something to be concerned by. Everybody use your headphones, because there's new studies out that says that you shouldn't hold the headphone to your ear. But I'm talking about more the subtler levels of how we're using or not using our emotional and spiritual capacities, and how we're hyper using our doing, or certain parts of the brain that have to do with like logical, rational, and doing. And this relates to, so I do believe that every condition in the human experience has a design response by an artist that could, on a subtle energetic level, address autism, address Parkinson's, and the way when Rife came out with the cancer, I don't know if you saw Thrive, a movie that I scored 3 years ago, and if you, again, I pitched it last time. Thrive is the name of a film that you can see for free at thrivemovement.com. But it had a short sequence about Rife's cancer machine, and it's all about treating where the cancer is and finding out where the vibrational frequency of the cancer was. And they had success in actually removing the cancer by using vibrational frequency medicine, right? It was amazing, right? And then it was wiped out by the AMA and destroyed and discredited. But I do really believe that we're going to enter a renaissance of appreciation for the subtle energetic power of the arts to deal with things like autism. So I applaud your friend, and I really welcome her to invite artists who are sensitive and interested in experimenting with what works, because who knows, it could be movement, dance and movement that could help. Who knows, right? So.
Yeah. And she was also asking if there is a specific music that or project you work in attracting babies or getting pregnant, and is it the same in the arms that you did with Lisa and David? I'll show the screen because I kept it here.
Yeah, we're very excited about this. It's
Can you share more?
Yeah. So again, these last 15 years since I officially left doing just television and film and commercials, I started to explore not only end of life, but I started to try to accept my own challenge, which is, okay, if it really is true that there's a design alternative in my musical capacities to approach any phase of life. I was approached by Lisa Raffel, the musical shaman, and David Sorenda, her husband, who's a PhD in psychology. And we started to explore the ramifications of what would it be like in this crazy world where mothers are so challenged by the fragmentation of attention, by the unbelievable demands that mothers have, by the lack of sleep. What happens if we created something that awakened their sense of awe for the magic of life itself as it's being grown inside of them, and as it comes out and it's in their arms, this beautiful baby? How could they be present to the magic? In the same way that I was really interested, it was how can we get present to remember that we're not going to live forever, right? Well, this case again is how can we be present to the, oh my God, the awe. There's a new life and it came through me. And so we developed this book called Safe in the Arms of Love, Deepening the Essential Bond with Your Baby. And there are lullabies and musical experiences that have been tested now in 3 different healthcare and hospital studies. And when the mother listens to this, her appreciation for the innocence of these beings and the magic and the awe that life itself came through them awakens their capacity to not get distracted by the millions of things that are so easily distracting you, right? The smartphones, I don't have to give you the litany, you all know.
Yeah.
So this project is now evolved into a play, a musical that we're working on. We're going to be launching it at the end of March at the Berkshire Women's Writers Festival, and it's a musical theater experience that its purpose is to awaken you to the awe through the power of the ways in which birth itself and the birth of our children has changed us. It's a transformative experience, right?
Yeah.
And many of us have life-changing experiences, not only when we're born, but when we give birth to cause the birth of our child. So it's just another example of, and one more thing. There's a fabulous, what's his name? I'm going to get it on my internet. There's a fabulous researcher / therapist by the name of Gerhard Schroff. I'd like to point him out for anybody that's interested in this because he's in Germany. And here we go. Yeah. His name's Gerhard Schroff, MD. And he's come up with some phenomenal techniques. Prenatal bonding. If you can Google him, you'll find out about it. Prenatal bonding.
Yes, I'll share with Barbara.
SCHROTH. He's developed some magnificent modalities with phenomenal evidence that when you bond with the baby in the womb, they've shown incredible response to the fact that the baby has more frustration tolerance. They sleep longer after they get out of the womb. They have less colic. They're more emotionally resilient because he has a way of relating to the child as a sentient being from an early phase, probably from the very second trimester as the baby's forming. Because as you know, the baby in 20 weeks, maybe even earlier, develops its first sense, which is hearing, right? So you end up meditating and talking and being with the baby from the earliest phase, and that he has proven has a measurable effect on the child having this relationship with you in a multidimensional manner that makes a huge difference on the child's early life. So, and again, using the power of music and the art to do that just makes it more about beauty, more about inspiration, and what could go wrong when you add those elements into it.
Yes. Yeah, well, thank you. And I know that the book and the DVD is available, and they can buy it, right, and download it on your website.
And Resonant Sounds is the website. Resonant Sounds, RESONANT.com, and or it's just you can find it by googling safeinthearms.com or Safe in the Arms of Love. Yeah. Good.
Thank you. And you might have noticed we have a guest on our webinar.
I do. Who's that?
This is Sonia, the one I shared with you about you. We just put her on the video. Monica contacting me during our broadcasting that she would love to share with you in person. So
fantastic.
I think she's going to clarify whether she's from Finland or Norway or Sweden or whichever.
Okay.
I know
Sonia.
She's Slovakian.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
So work a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
And Sonia wanted to share with you her experience. So I'm just going to put her.
Yeah, I cannot see Gary now. I cannot hear him. There is something strange with it, but it doesn't change the strong experiences I am having now, thanks to you. And not only now, but for all this 21 days period we just had now. It was unbelievable for me. Like I just wrote to Monica, I will say it, that I could feel the difference between the days, or like the mornings, if I had the chance to wake up with the music, like as a first thing. I drank my water and then I put it on the earphones and I listened to the sometimes even all of them, like even all 4 of them, because
Oh,
for
really?
me,
Wow.
yes, because for me it has this I believe that we have the beginning and the end. It basically it's part of our really like everyday life. We have like many small deaths during the day anyway. Like some project finished, some I don't know, break up with some guy, or you know, all these kind of things are part of our everyday. So
Absolutely.
this even the last one, the
The observer, the
yeah,
witness
the
from the Satsang.
saying goodbye,
Oh, letting yourself be
the music,
loved.
letting
Yeah.
yourself be loved, was as strong as all the other ones for me, and were part of my everyday, even like sometimes even in the morning, even though you recommended that it could be maybe better for the evening. But I could feel the strong difference when I had the time to listen to it in the morning, to those short musics, tracks, because the day started with from the totally different place, kind of.
Right.
I compared to the days where I could not have a chance, because my daughter woke me up just before, you know, I had a chance to put it on.
Right.
So I had to then just jump to the reality, to the everyday reality, without this preparation,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
which I had thanks to music. Those days when it worked out, kind of.
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful. I'm so glad you said that, because I was even just noticing, last night I had this opportunity to perform with my first wife, she and I were performers together, and many years ago, like 78 to 84. But we wrote tons of songs together. And so last night she invited me on the stage, and I performed a couple of songs that we wrote together when we were in love. I was 28, and it was so much love between us that I was ecstatic. I mean, we played this music, and there were all these old fans in the audience, and I was really happy, right? Happier than I've been in years. And I went home to my empty apartment, and I could feel the glimpse of like a little sadness, and I didn't understand it. But there was no reason to be sad. It was just, what are you sad about? And it was simply because there was an empty apartment. It was dark, and it was a transition, right? And how susceptible we are to these, extrasensory realities around us. We're such sensitive beings. So just having a little music to support our morning, so that we're just focused on towards the gratitude and the positive, rather than the propensity to fall into, I'm alone, whatever our complaining little mind goes through. I just noticed how amazing. I have nothing to complain about. I was happier than I've been in years, and I had even that thought. So I love that you said that, because it is a little help, a little push to just be aware of the blessing that life is. It's so phenomenal. So thanks for saying that. I didn't want to cut you off if you had anything more to say. Did you want to say anything more?
Yes, and I was very thankful for what you just said about the small musical, or like small musical, the musical, which probably will be huge, but like for maybe small step for the future musicals being as well made based on this kind of title, which you decided, because I'm a musical actress by myself. I've been doing that for a living. And
Fantastic.
I guess this is the power, the real power the musical can give, compared to those shows which are just glittering. And this is what I've been always interested, what the music, dance, and acting can actually, what difference they can make, and how combination of these three skills could make a stronger impact than just theater or just dancing or just music, like this combination altogether. And the subject,
Yeah, no,
honestly, and it's unbelievable thing.
I love that you're saying that, and I really do feel like that, you know, we're going to enter a renaissance where the issues that matter most to us as we boomers, for example, are getting older. You know, somebody pointed out to me, I don't know how old you are, but you're probably, I don't know, 40 or something, I don't know. But the boomers who came in America redefined culture in a certain way. You know, we were the ones that broke through, said we don't want Vietnam War. I'm speaking about America now. You know, they taught the feminist revolution. There are all these things that just said this will not stand, and the subjugation of women and the counterculture movement and the transformational movement. You know, the Werner Erhard, all that. Well, as we're now hitting 65, just think about what an opportunity we have to shift this way of thinking about the elderly. I'm now focusing on this because I'm about to go into this field, but you can apply it to whether it's birthing, autism, whatever. Hold on. Oh, my cell phone's going off. Sorry. Anyway, it just means that the subtlety, the complexity, and the integration of these issues are going to show up in musicals, in films, in movies, in poetry, in novels. And we're going to enter a renaissance of redefining how we can bring heart and spirit and consciousness into these areas that have been sleeping. They've been sleeping, right? They've just been the best we could do until now. And there's a hell of a lot better we can do, right? Right. So you're the parent of the autistic child, right?
No.
Oh, this is someone else. Okay, sorry.
Yes,
okay.
this is the lady.
But I have as well.
Say it again.
I have not autistic, but artistic child.
Thank you. Okay, good. Excellent. Excellent.
And Sonia, where do you live? In Sweden?
In Finland.
Finland. So I was right.
Yeah,
From Finland.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for giving us an opportunity to see what effect it had on you, and I look forward to meeting you one day.
Me too.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you. Great.
So put your beautiful face on the screen again, babe.
Yeah. So it was wonderful that we could have, you know, Sonia share from her own life and experience, and her sharing that she's also in the area of music and dancing. Gary, I'm very curious about your project that you also mentioned with me, and that's the Divine Nine music. And I think that's maybe something a lot of us would like to hear. Would you like to share more about it? I know you mentioned that to me very briefly, and I'm very curious. I tried to look up the Divine Nine music website, but everything is in Dutch, apart from video, so I can't really understand it. And I feel it's important, and there are very important distinctions. So if you could share them, I think that would be very nice.
Well, it's something I'm really, really excited about, and because it gets down to the very marrow, the very essence of what music is. As we talked about, vibrational frequency is the common denominator of the universe, right?
Yes.
Well, so this man named Gert Kramer, Gertkramer, Dutch, brilliant Dutch man, created this website called thesharingsociety.com.
Mm-hmm.
And on that page, there is an English version of it, actually, when you'll see one of the headings is Divine Nine Music.
Okay.
But soon, in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be an English-speaking website devoted to Divine Nine Music. And what this is not just literally an alternative to the way music can affect us, but it's also a metaphoric, powerful story about I love this story that it reminds me of. There's this woman who's putting in a roast in the oven, and I don't know if you've heard this, and when she cuts the end of the roast, cuts out all this great meat and then puts it in the stove, and the daughter says, "Why are you doing that, Mommy?" And she said, "Well, my grandmother did that, and apparently it's supposed to be the best way to cook a roast." So then the grandmother asked the great-grandmother, and well, that's because our pot were too small and we didn't have any other way to cook it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love that story because in every field of human endeavor, there are things we've inherited that we simply inherited them and assume that they're the way it should be done because it's been the way it's been done, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what if we looked at why they were founded generations ago, and turns out there was a very stupid reason, or a very valid reason now, but it doesn't apply to our current reality, right?
Yeah.
So what he did was he went through 7,000 permutations of how he could reconstruct the scale. Da 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 da, the full octave of 12 tones that Western music is defined by. But each tone is tuned to a vibrational frequency that people that understand tuning, the whole tuning world, it's defined because Bach in the 1700s created a thing called the tempered scale. Well, before the tempered scale, there was the music that was closely aligned, and forgive me because I'm not a scholar on this, but more closely aligned to the Pythagorean tuning, the music that's in alignment with
Ah,
the natural occurring pitches in the universe. Like
yes, yes.
when you touch a a certain, like the singing bowls, or you touch a string and then you cut it in half and you touch that, and it
Mm-hmm.
has so these by naturally occurring frequencies that occur in the world, in the universe, are not tempered. They're not artificially altered by human
Uh-huh.
beings, right? Well, when Bach came in and created the well-tempered clavier, it's not that he didn't create something very beautiful. Of course he did. He made possible what we now know as Western harmonic music for the last 400
Mm-hmm.
years, right? However, he asked the question, what if we recalibrated the musical tuning on the piano to not be tempered and to be back in alignment with the music of the spheres, with the natural occurring Pythagorean laws of the Fibonacci sequence and pi and all those things? And so he created a relationship with one of the leading piano technicians who serves concert pianos all over the world, in an hour outside of Amsterdam. And he got an apprentice to work with him through 7,000 permutations over a number of years, and came up with this Divine Nine tuning system that is very subtly different, but every note is divisible by 9 vibrationally. And his
Mm-hmm.
theory is that 9 is the still point, that is the common denominator of the universe in all of the Pythagorean and sacred geometric equations. So I got the opportunity and the privilege to play this piano when I visited Amsterdam 2 years ago, and I had a profound experience playing this instrument, to the point where I realized that it played me. I left my consciousness for a while, and something came through as I played that convinced me that I had something to learn from it. So they paid for a tuner to come to California and basically supported me in creating this recording session where I have a bunch of improvisations that I created with the Divine Nine tuning. And the first one is going to be coming out in the next 6 months. It's a 40-minute track that's meant to be a support for presence, spaciousness, and stillness, right? So more of this slowing down, but even more slower. It's like almost like exponentially slower than even the music that you know of me, Bea. It's like air.
Mm.
It's so beautiful,
So
and
you tuned your piano
yeah,
to that,
that the apprentice from Amsterdam came to my home in California.
and he
For
tuned your
he tuned my
piano.
piano to this new Divine Nine tuning system,
Ah.
and it's having national airplay in Amsterdam now. So in a few days, if you do Google Divine Nine and Hert Kramer and all this, you're going to hear
Uh-huh.
about it was on national television just in the last few weeks, and it's getting quite a lot of attention right now. But to this moment, there's no CD out in the world that uses this Divine Nine tuning system yet. There are performers now coming out of Amsterdam that are doing it and utilizing it, but it's a quite extraordinary. And so just think about this. The frequency of the pitches as they go into our listening ears and touch the sounds of the vibrational frequencies, touch our neurotransmitters.
Wow.
And formlessness of the air becomes form in the form of biochemical, emotional experience in our bloodstream after the neurotransmitters process the sound and come into our being, our bodies, and become emotions, right? They affect us, right? And so what could be more intimate than the very tuning of the notes themselves, right? So this is a new phenomenon that most people don't think of because everybody's been cutting the end of the roast, thinking, well, temper tuning is the only tuning there is. And Kurt Kramer, being a true visionary, says, not only in tuning, but what if there in every strata of society there exists a similar dynamic to the pot roast, right? So just to know that there's an alternative way of looking at everything that could awaken a new level of integration, a new level of awakening, a new level of consciousness on the planet. Right?
Yeah, that's what it just reminded me. Is like is a whole new realm of integration, isn't it?
It is. It's really no. Again. It's even if it's just the experiment of it, right? Just to see, well, what effect would these vibrational frequencies that are more aligned in the natural occurring universe have on our hearts and souls? He hates to think that this is called healing music. He doesn't like to prescribe that. He just wants to say this is an alternative in vibrational frequencies that are more in alignment with the laws of the universe, right?
Yeah.
And so what would happen from that? So I think he's a real visionary, and I'm excited to be a part of this inquiry, this experiment.
Yeah.
And
So this 40 minutes music that you recorded, is it going to be part of being shared, or you just played it for yourself at home?
You know, I did a collaboration not only with the Divine Nine Tuning, but with some very powerful teachers of mine who created a beautiful track called The Om of the Goddess, and they put in a huge amount of shamanic, musical, vibrational frequencies into this tonality of Om, right? So I use that track plus the Divine Nine Tuning and plus my style of piano playing. So there's a lot of juju going on in this music, and we're currently in conversation about whether we should just give it away to humanity or sell it. We don't know yet.
But it will be available to either purchase or
Wisdom of the World will announce it, yeah. And so I want to encourage everyone who goes to Wisdom of the World to sign up for our newsletter, because we're pretty inactive right now, but in the next few months we'll be much more active, and Bea and I are going to continue to explore our partnership in other ways. So I look forward to that as well. You'll hear about it.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for asking.
And we have a question from Agatha. She lives in London. She can't come on video, but she says she sent me a message saying, I listen to all the songs. I like letting yourself be loved. I love the music. It brings me to a different world. I could listen to that song all day long. I know I would be flying at the end of the day. And she has a question for you. And the question is, was there ever a moment in your life when you thought to abandon music and concentrate on something else? As well, too often we give up our passion and pursue that which is not aligned with our soul.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. No, there was. In fact, you know, I referenced earlier that I had this accident in 1998. The accident was the divine intervention from years of doing this on a television show that had me. There were wonderful people working on the show. I don't really mean to put it down, and I was incredibly grateful. But the show was about propagating fear, and not entirely, but it was all. And it also, for me, had me working like a dog, working and not perfecting. I love perfecting music, so it's really just gorgeous, right? Well, with television, you can't spend that kind of time.
No, you don't have time, right?
And they loved what I did, which was even worse because I felt it could be 1,000 times better, and I didn't have the time to make it better. So it was kind of like numbing my soul in a certain way. I don't mean to put it down because I was incredibly grateful for the work, and I loved the people I worked with, But ultimately, I kept on asking the question, what's wrong with this picture? I feel out of balance. I'm not happy. I should be happy. I'm on the top of the world. I'm making tons of money. I'm doing my dream of music. And that's when I decided, you know what, I almost gave up music entirely. And I remember going to a teacher of mine, a music teacher named Alaudine Matthew. He's a musician's musician here in the Bay Area. And I came to him, and later he said, you know, Gary, when you came to me, I had to perform CPR on your connection to music for a number of months. You were almost dead. You almost gave it up completely. And I imagined that I might want to be a therapist because I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. And I was just doing TV and commercials. And again, the intention behind the work I was doing was so far away from what my heart's desire was, right? So what I want to say about this is that not everybody can have a career that is so overtly in alignment with your heart's desire. And that's one of the reasons why we go full circle into the gratitude piece, because sometimes no matter what, I've really had a major awakening about this, Bea. You know, having gone through a period in these last 10 years where I've been very challenged financially. I was asked to give up everything I had. And you know, I'm not saying everybody has to go through this, but I lost everything in the Madoff scandal, and I lost everything going for my dream, right? Financially, I lost everything. So I have a great respect for people who go to do what needs to be done to take care of their family, even if the work isn't in alignment with their dream and their vision. I have great respect for doing what needs to be done, you know what I mean? And not having a naive attitude like you only need to follow your bliss and do it only what your heart's saying. I don't feel that way anymore. I used to, and I used to be very glib and naive about it. But I have enormous respect for the people in the world that work their ass off for their children, their family, and their world, whether their career is in alignment with their mission or not. And what I want to say is they have the power to shift their attitude about what they're doing by feeling grateful and looking at everything as a gift. And suddenly things become what their heart sings because they're living through the eyes of gratitude, right? So I hope I really don't ever promote ever again this naive belief that you've got to leave everything to follow your dream. It's not that I'm not grateful that I am doing that, and I stand for that, and it's just that I have much more respect for the people that do the right thing and know that what needs to be done. And there are many ways to get, I love that quote by Rumi, that there are thousands of ways to kneel and kiss. Oh, let the beauty you love, this is the quote, let the beauty we love be what we do. There are thousands of ways to kneel and kiss the ground, right? That's by Rumi. And that sort of embodies what I'm saying is, of course we want to do what we love, but we are not always fortunate to do that. So how can we make what we're doing what we love because we're grateful to be alive? And I just have a much more humble and respectful attitude about all that right now.
Yeah, no, I can totally get that because like you and I, I do what I love, but there are things that I wish sometimes I didn't have to do or I feel is not fair, and just integrating the gratitude last 21 days. And it's like, when he says, the Father Day says, be thankful you have eyes you can open.
I know, I love that line.
Actually just so simple, like I can see. What else am I asking for? I'm alive and I can see, and just
exactly.
these little nuances. And then he said, let the gratefulness overflow into blessings.
Right. No, and also the woman that asked the question recently when she said she loved letting yourself be loved, tell her that the music is available for that. It's called Unspeakable Grace, and it's a CD that's on my website, and that's all the music without the spoken word. So I recommend that if people like the music for that, Letting Yourself Be Loved, that they can get the whole album.
Yes.
And it's called Unspeakable Grace. And there's a line in that opening, Letting Yourself Be Loved, that always sticks out for me, and I love it. And he says, but you will always be here. And every time he says that, I just get the chills. But you will always be here. Just think about what that means. And it's such a amazing statement. You will always be here. So that means that who we are, whether we're alive in this body or not, that somehow we're always here. There's a part of us that never dies. And that's a very provocative statement, And that's another thing to be grateful for, is that what if that's true?
Yeah.
You know, what if that's true? What if our parents who have died, or my sister who died 6 years ago, who I'm very close to, what if she's always here? She's always here. And I like to believe that, you know, and I'd like to believe that I will always be here somehow, you know. It's a
Yeah.
gorgeous thought, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So this is a message for Agatha, you know. She can buy that music and then we can navigate her more. I do have a question from Marinella. She couldn't be on the video.
Oh, look at
Marin
these interesting photographs.
yeah. Oh, yes, this is one of one of the sliders on her website. But Marinella is originally Brazilian. She's a visionary filmmaker and a director. She lives in London, and she had a question about the music. And first question is, Gary, for you, how do you think sound and music combine in films to produce magic?
Hmm.
Because her whole commitment is about shifting paradigms and transformation. And second question is, I also think film is a shamanic experience which produces a paradigm shift. Do you agree with this? Or could you say what your thoughts are on this?
Well, first of all, Marinella,
Yes.
we are kindred spirits because my medicine of choice, I don't drink alcohol. I smoke things occasionally, but I don't, and I do have shamanic medicine as a ritual experience on a periodic basis for my own personal development. But my medicine of choice is film. I go to films to be transformed, to be awakened, and to drop into a multidimensional reality that gives me rest from the mundanity of my ego's constant chatter, right? So I completely agree with you, and I think that, you know, when films are great, they understand that every single element in the collaborative experience has to be vibrationally compatible and resonant so that when they're added together, they create an outcome that's greater than the sum of the parts. And one of the things that, so I totally agree with you, and I'm a film nut. If I could see, you know, 7 films a day or 20 films a day, I mean, a week, I would. And that's why I love going to film. I love to speak on panels at film festivals and stuff. So any festival that you know about, invite me. But it's why I love film festivals, because you can just bury yourself in the experience. But one of the things that I've noticed about the way people use music for film that's not as intelligent is that they don't realize that something happens to the brain when you combine any music with an image, right? I'm talking about any music, right? Many people get a little bit loopy and stupid, frankly. They get kind of, well, like filmmakers sometimes will like take music, because nobody hires original music anymore, because that was my career, and a lot of unless you have a lot of money, like a major film studio, most people grab music or get free music from the license it some way, or steal it or take it, and then they put it on, and they look at it and they think, yeah, kind of works, right? Now, I don't mean to minimize you or anybody else, but there are a lot of people that make stupid decisions by using the wrong music to create the wrong impact and the wrong emotional effect. And they'll get kind of close, but they'll accept it, that famous phrase, good enough is good enough. You know, it's like good. And I think that's a travesty to what's happened in the filmmaking experience. There's an art form to understanding what music and what emotional tonality will create the right effect for what you're trying to achieve on the larger scale of what the film is for. And most filmmakers don't understand that when you put any music onto images, we get a little bit foggy in terms of our ability to discriminate what is the net alchemical result of this alchemy between spoken word, between music and images. And there aren't a lot of people that actually can decipher that, because they get a little bit foggy and cloudy around what the net result is. Does that make sense, Bea? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes. And I am really thinking about Marinella as well, because I know, you know, she's a graduate and of our institute, and also she did all the transformational trainings in Learn My Education. So I know her whole commitment is transformation and paradigm shifting films. So I think it's very important also what you share with her, and I'm definitely going to connect you too.
Great. Yeah.
Because
Wonderful.
my question is the filmmakers who are about to create, who are committed to create transformation, what kind of music, should they use, and are they actually trained? Can they distinguish whether that music creates paradigms together with the sound and
Right.
the
No,
visuals?
and this is one of the reasons why I'm a great fan of, the great film composers of today, Thomas Newman, Jeff Beal, Ennio Morricone, John Williams, even the more current ones like what's his name, the one that did the Imitation Game. I forget his name, but a lovely score. These film scores represent the pinnacle of very high, quality, expensive work. Doesn't have to be all that expensive, but generally it just represents a certain kind of mastery of understanding the alchemy of music and scoring and its work with images, which does bring us full circle into why you love the Pachamama work. Because the Pachamama Alliance, which is, if anybody wants to know, it's one of
Yeah.
the most inspiring nonprofit organizations on the planet, Pachamama.org, Pachamama.org. They had the wisdom, and Neil Rogan is the producer and the writer for all that content, who's my dear friend, to know that it wasn't just grabbing free music that kind of felt good, like I was saying, that was sort of worked.
Yeah.
They knew that they needed to have somebody that was vibrationally connected to the mission of the work, who could create custom music that worked spot on to deliver the effect of
Yeah.
whether it was meant to inspire you. I mean, that one cue that my partner and I did for the extinction of the species, because that's one of the most heartbreaking parts of the Pachamama Symposium, is when you start to see what we have done and how few these species are left, and how there's this what they call the mass extinction event that's going on, that was the most massive extinction since the dinosaurs, is going on right now. And you get to see these lions and these elephants and these hippopotamuses and these giraffes and these whales, and your heart breaks when you see that they're actually 3% or even less left on the whole world. And when they're gone forever. So the music that I wrote for that section, I've seen it maybe 200 times, and I cry every time I've seen it. And that's because I was willing to crack my heart open and cry about the extinction and write the music that came out of that cracked heart. And the music that came out was happening while I was sobbing. I can't, and that was resonant with what the intention was for the film, right? Now, I'm not saying every film composer has to sob while they're writing music, but
No,
it
but
has
it
to be
was going
aligned.
through your experience, what you're
Right.
saying, because you went through that experience, you brought it with you, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's, the metaphor of that is, how are we with one another? Are we really there with each other? So that rather than me having an agenda about the 15 things I want to tell you, am I really listening to you? Am I putting myself in the experience of being with you right now? And I'm just talking about now the film called interaction between someone you love or someone you care about or someone you meet. How present are we to the moment of being open to receiving who this person is? It's the same thing as scoring a movie.
Yeah.
It's really, I never said that before, but that's really, I think it's very similar.
Yeah. And I think this goes, thank you, Gary. And I think this goes in line with another question we have from you, from Andrea. She's from Slovakia, and she's a real stand for a new culture of politics. And her question is, first she said, thank you, Gary, she's on a train, for the beauty the music brought into my life over the 21 days journey.
Mm.
And her question to you is, Gary, have you ever experienced this beauty of the music to be changing or challenging the world of the politics?
Ah, oh God, I love this question. I had an experience that changed my life. And for any of you that are listening, if you want to participate with me in making this a dream that can come true one day, I have a dream that came out of this experience. And it was, there was a bunch of musicians from the Middle East, virtuoso folk musicians, all representing all the religions. And the bombing broke out in Lebanon. between Israel and Lebanon. It was August 2007, I think. And someone knew that I was influential in the community and I could create a peace concert at Grace Cathedral, the largest cathedral west of the Mississippi. We created a concert, a peace concert that celebrated the folk music of the Palestinians, the Jews, the Iranians, the Iraqis, the Jewish, the Muslim, the Catholic, all in one concert. And there was this one moment where Yair Dalal, this beautiful Israeli musician, reached his hand out as he was playing oud with a Muslim musician, Nasser Musa, playing the oud as well from, I forget what country he was from, during the song Salam Shalom, Shalom Shalom, Salam Shalom. And he reached out his hand while they were playing Salam Shalom. There was a beautiful inspirational moment. There were 2,000 people in the cathedral and the concert I created. And I was watching in the back of the room. And you know that story about like the butterfly wings and how it like will change the world, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I heard the sound of 2,000 people getting a lump in their throat at the same millisecond. Like this recognition was, it's possible. It's possible that the huge family spat of the planet between the Muslims and the Jews will finally one day be in over, right? And the moment that moment happened, I said, it's done. It's over. It might take 50 years. God, I hope not. But I knew that it was possible in that moment. I knew that it had shifted, right? And so ever since then, I've dreamed of bringing these musicians together. And they said they'd be willing to go and do a national tour or a world tour. And I dream of bringing this group of musicians together again and traveling around the world, because there is nothing more powerful than in the musical context, seeing the people of different faiths and warring national, people that are enemies, but they use music as a metaphor for reaching out their hands in peace and harmony. And so the answer to your question is, it's the next most powerful strategy for addressing the intractable conflicts that have been going on for thousands of years. The artists' community will be the platform in which films, concerts, and artistic works will create the bridges for the future of a healing, harmonious, and peaceful world. So anytime there's an opportunity for me to play a role as a designer of those experiences at a conference or whatever, if I'm available, sign me up. So the answer is yes. It's absolutely incumbent upon the artists and the individuals in this world to recognize that having explicit arts experiences as more than just entertainment, but as embodiments of peace and harmony in areas where we never dreamed it could be possible. That is what's next in our world, as far as I see.
Yeah, I love that, what you just shared, because it connected me to what you said last time when we had the webinar, music being the enzyme. Did you say it's an
the
enzyme?
digestive enzyme that
yes,
helps us digest the meaning, right?
Yeah, and so instead of being on the outside or on the outskirts, what I got is being central, right, and helping us process, how everything is accelerating and integrating more, and
right.
That's what I got from your sharing,
yeah.
really having that center stage.
Yeah, I recently met a man.
Sides.
I recently met a man who runs the NATO conferences in Brussels and Marrakesh and different places. And he agrees with me, but he uses it in the form of like, he brings art into the conferences, and he brings, it's all like everything that happens around the content. It's beautiful and it's ethnic and it's a way for you to really understand where you are in the culture. And when we talked recently, he said, Gary, the next thing is to actually, before starting with the plenary, or the meeting, or the panel, or the analysis, that we start with 5 minutes of an arts experience that wakens everybody up. And he saw the gratitude piece, and he looked at me, and this guy, he's the conference, the director of NATO conferences in Brussels, and he went, "Oh my God, I think I have to figure out a way to start one of these conferences with that gratitude video." And I said, "Go for it! It'll be a breakthrough moment, to finally have statesmen and financial, people from Davos to start with the Davos World Conference on Finances to start with gratitude, right? What a shift that would be, right?
Yeah,
So
it really brings people to the present and together, and I just felt when I play, when I do events and I bring the gratitude, it brings people right now, right here, but together.
yeah, and I think
Like
it's
the energy is in the room, they're back
yeah,
in the room.
right.
Before they were just everywhere.
It's exactly right. And Deepak himself, I made a wisdom film based on Deepak Chopra's The Track That I Gave Away called The Whispering the Mystery. And when he saw it last March, he loved it so much, he played it as the opening experience for his event for 2,000 people at a talk he gave in Santa Barbara. And when I heard why he did it, he saw it that morning. After 4 years, I created it 4 or 5 years ago. He finally saw it. He says, "Why haven't you shown this to me? This is magnificent, and it creates a resonant field for people to be more receptive to the content." And I went, "Well, that's why I created it, Deepak. I've been trying to get you to hear this for 5 years." So he finally said, "We must play it tonight for everybody because it'll create more receptivity and alignment and cohesion." And I said, "Thank you." That was
Yeah, he
exactly
could have
why I
played it in
created
Prague when we met him.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's I love talking to you, Gary, because it always gives me more and more things, and I love what you say, and you see yourself also as a strategist, because our commitment in GIFEW is to bring all those distinctions that you share about, that you're creating through a strategical point of view, is to integrate it in our education where we work with women leaders. And I think the word now, the agents of social change and transformation and change makers. One is to bring it into our curriculum, to really integrate them and having the ability to use it is the everyday life. That's what the women who share with you on this webinar did. But something I'm very excited about is the next level, that when they go through our education, and wanted to show also with you, because we'll be doing the mentoring program for the change makers, where you're also one of our mentors. And I'm so looking forward strategizing what kind of your music that you created can come for different parts of integration, creating the really strong identity to shine in the world, then have an impact, be unstoppable, but at the same time to be really feminine and powerful, all holistically well, and have a lot of vitality. So that's exciting part. But the second part is the one where I feel most excited is about them giving them these tools and your transformational tools and modalities when they go and make it in the world and impact the world and create inspiration in their organizations and communities and politics, because that's where actually they impact the part of society where they are the experts. So
that's fantastic, Bea. This looks so extraordinary, and make sure you say to everybody how they can participate in this, because it looks wonderful, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it in some way.
Yes, I'm very excited because we're going to be starting in April, and between now and in April you're going to hear from me, because I want to really strategize with you and bring your wisdom and vision is about how we can take from what you created and really empower them as change makers globally, impact society, but then also bring it into their communities and their organizations or political sphere or media, wherever they want to make an impact.
Great.
So
And it already,
yes, Moni?
I just wanted to add that it already started. One of our clients, she's doing the individual program, defining her direction and identity. And she started listening to this webinar and music together with her husband. And they created this practice and they do it together as a family. And she was sharing that it's amazing because it's for them experience to reflect and share and connect with their emotions. So it already started naturally. That women don't keep this experience for themselves, but they bring it to their family.
Fabulous. And please introduce yourself so we know who Monica is.
Yes, Monica, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Monika Gmutova. I'm the CEO of GIFEW. So I'm taking care for the Institute to grow and bring the programs for women. I'm very excited about this new mentoring program where we have experts from different corners of the world, such as Gary yourself. And of course, I participated in this 21 gratitude journey. and I was listening to music, and I think it brought me more to feel humility and the emotions and see the invisible things that are obviously around me, but I start to be more emotional and experiencing it, and also saying to people in my life what I'm grateful for.
Mm.
And it's just, I was touching the magic things that are around, and we don't see sometimes. So
Yes.
yeah, it's beautiful.
And you know, by the way, I really want to emphasize, you know, we've been using the word music as a kind of a proxy or a stand-in for what this really is, which is an alchemical blend of music and spoken word, or music and images, and right. So it's. I wish there was another word, because it's music infused resources, but that's too complicated, right?
Yes, we need
So
to come up with few distinctions.
well, because
Because
you know
just
when
music doesn't do it justice, right? It's not just music.
well, it is powerful when you bring your full presence to the music alone. Then you're bringing your own alchemy of your own consciousness into the experience of a joint experience with music and listening and everything around you. So I don't mean to ever minimize the power of music and listening, because these days people don't listen enough. They're always thinking it has to be images in order to look. So I love, first of all, thank you, Monica, for sharing what you said. I loved it was about like being available to more magic in your life, and that was fantastic. I loved hearing that. And but I do want to, I want to invite a creative process for all of us to say, well, what do we call this?
Yes.
And it really has to do with, I think it has to do with opening ourselves up to the multidimensionality of reality, the multisensory, multi-level, multifaceted. And how can we come up with a word that says that in one word, right? You know, and I'm not sure what that would be.
Yeah.
I'm not sure
Well,
what
that's
that would be.
great because it's a co-creation. So this is something for us to share and discuss, and then come with new distinctions that when we say people will understand. It's, you know, this kind of multisensory, multidimensional modality, and that can make a difference in our lives, in our integration, and making difference to others.
Yeah, it's so great. And you know, I think one word would be, the reason why I came up with wisdomoftheworld.com is wow, but that's not. So the other one was, you know, awe, the state of being, that state of being moved to being like to that sigh and those tears and those chills, and AWE, awe. I don't know what that is in other languages, but being
Oh,
really touched, moved, and inspired, you know, whatever that is. So thank you,
yeah.
Monica, for those comments. And so do you need to give people information on how to sign up for this mentoring program, or what?
Yes, so we'll be sharing with people where they can apply for the program. We're going to open it to 16 to 20 change makers and women leaders from all around the world. And I'm very excited because we're going to take them through, you know, through the whole process of really getting clear why they're here on the planet, what is their place on the sky, which part of society they came here to really impact, and then really start shining, but not individually, but together in a constellation, but at the same time be empowered to have an impact on the part of society take a stand for, whilst having
Fabulous.
all their life and families integrated. So
Wow. You are such a rock star, Bea. I love you. You're awesome.
thank you. And I'm excited that we then can talk together because, you know, when we'll be going through the passions with them and talents and the purpose, I know that you have music that enhances really integrating purpose and looking at their talents and their passions and different distinctions. So I'm a real stand that this is a really new of a kind of a program for women who want to be inspiration and really integrate it.
But
And
you know,
I'm
I wanted to do a little plug for, because when people are thinking about embarking in something new, it
yes.
brings me up to this awareness that the first quality that is always the most powerful quality to awaken, whether it's right for you to take a step like this,
Mm-hmm.
is to awaken what we call the power of willingness, right? That and Bruce Cryer, the former CEO of HeartMath, and I started this website that I pitched last time we were talking, or shared, what makes your
Make your
heart sing
heart
dot,
sing.
dot net, you know. And the reason why I say it is there's a download on there called the Power of Willingness, and
Ah,
it's a guided meditation. So if you're thinking of joining this mentoring program, and you have a little inkling of it, you can download the Power of Willingness on the website, whatmakesyourheartsing.net, and listen to this 20-minute meditation, and it will be another unfolding, like the gratitude, where you'll start to feel your power, the willingness you have to be open to what's next in your life. It'll break down the walls of any resistance, and you'll get clearer about what's next for you, right? So I want to invite you guys. I'm trying to create it so we can actually have a sample of that track given on the track, and I'm working on that. But
that would be
if
wonderful.
anybody,
But it's a great inquiry. Yeah, I'll connect with you about that one so we can make it available, because sometimes I think people are like, they feel they want to move and something stops them, and then they seem to be like really stuck instead of saying yes or no, but they like on the sidelines.
Right.
So this could probably help them integrate and take the action if it's authentic, right? If the small
Right. I mean, our job as mentors and coaches and shamans is to clear the field so that what wants to happen individually, collectively, is allowed to happen, because we're just portals of spirit. We're just portals of, may we be the agents of change for what wants to happen. That's the ultimate prayer that I think all of us hold as mentors. And anything less than that, if I'm trying to bend you to my will, well, we all know what that's going to lead to.
Yeah, not great.
Monica, do you have something else you wanted to say?
Yes, I wanted to say what is present for me, that this mentoring program, there is, the GIFEW is hosting this space, but there is the whole orchestra of the mentors, to bringing the essence and the expertise and the unique magic to this. So it's the whole orchestra making this happen.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful metaphor. I think it's a great metaphor to complete. Let's imagine we are the clearing and the space, and part of the orchestra that creates this music. That's when I think about you and Gary, and women who are out there, change makers and change agents. I really like when they fully align. In my mind, I see them as this beautiful musical instrument. Now you remind me of the Divine Nine, playing this music through the universe, and then I see the constellation as this beautiful symphony, that is really in resonance, shifting our society to the next level. So
may it be so.
So thank you, Gary. Thank you for everything. Thank you for this conversation.
Well, I've never ceased to be amazed at how enjoyable it is to have such resonance with each other. Bea, your willingness to dive into the things that I've devoted my life to are such a gift for me to be present with. So thank you for your appreciation and for the opportunity to share my work with your community. I really appreciate it, and I hope that we can spread. I love these interviews. I love these experiences. So I'm going, once I have a little bit more space, I'm going to send the link so that I can share it with my world as well, because I haven't been able to introduce my audience in America to these workshops as much because I've been too busy.
Well, they will be recorded, and then you can overshare them, and then we can spread the message. So thank you, and
thank you very much, Gary.
Monica, my pleasure. And Jan, if you're there, I think you're silently there, but I know you're there. Jan, thank you for creating the support for this amazing being called Bea Benkova to do her work in the world, and as well as your work in the world. You both are a beautiful couple in that way.
Yeah.
So much love and luck to all of you, and until we meet again.
Yeah, until we meet again, and thank you to everyone who is watching us and will be watching us, and I will connect to you soon. So thank you, Gary. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye. Bye.